Have you ever wondered why Vietnam might go to war with China? It's a question that seems almost surreal, given the modern world's emphasis on diplomacy and economic interdependence. Yet, the possibility lingers, like a storm cloud on the horizon. It seems unthinkable, a David and Goliath scenario playing out on the world stage. Vietnam, a nation of around 97 million people, standing up to China, a behemoth with over 1.4 billion citizens. The sheer disparity in size and power makes the prospect seem almost fantastical. Yet, beneath the surface of diplomatic pleasantries and economic partnerships, tensions simmer. These tensions are not new. They have been brewing for decades, if not centuries. The history between these two nations is a tapestry of conflict, cooperation, and competition. The South China Sea, a vital waterway teeming with resources and trade routes, has become the focal point of this brewing conflict. This body of water is not just a geographical feature. It is a lifeline for international trade, a treasure trove of natural resources, and a strategic military asset. Vietnam, a nation with a long history of resisting powerful neighbors, might find itself on a collision course with a resurgent China. The Vietnamese people have a storied past of resilience and defiance, from their struggles against colonial powers to their fierce resistance during the Vietnam War. What are the reasons behind this potential conflict, and could it truly lead to open war? The answers lie in a complex web of historical grievances, national pride, and strategic interests. Understanding these factors is crucial to grasping the full picture. Vietnam and China, despite their shared communist ideology, have a long and complex relationship marked by both cooperation and conflict. Their interactions have been shaped by a mix of ideological alignment and territorial disputes, creating a volatile dynamic. At the heart of this tension lies a fundamental disagreement over the ownership of islands, reefs, and potentially resource-rich waters in the South China Sea. These contested territories are not just pieces of land and water. They represent national sovereignty, economic opportunity, and strategic advantage. This dispute, fueled by historical grievances and strategic ambitions, has the potential to draw these two nations into a conflict that could reshape the geopolitical landscape of Southeast Asia. The stakes are incredibly high, not just for Vietnam and China, but for the entire region and the world at large. The historical grievances between Vietnam and China date back centuries, involving territorial disputes, cultural clashes, and periods of domination and resistance. These deep-seated issues have left scars that continue to influence their modern-day relations. In recent years, the strategic ambitions of both nations have brought them into direct competition. China's Belt and Road Initiative and its military expansion in the South China Sea are seen by many as attempts to assert dominance in the region. Vietnam, on the other hand, has been bolstering its own military capabilities and seeking alliances to counterbalance China's influence. The international community watches closely, aware that any conflict between these two nations could have far-reaching consequences. Diplomatic efforts are ongoing, with various countries and organizations attempting to mediate and find a peaceful resolution. However, the path to peace is fraught with challenges. The economic ties between Vietnam and China add another layer of complexity. Both nations are significant trading partners, and any conflict would disrupt not only their economies, but also the global supply chain. The interdependence of their economies makes the prospect of war even more daunting. Despite the tensions, there are also efforts to build bridges through cultural exchanges, trade agreements, and diplomatic dialogues. These initiatives aim to foster mutual understanding and cooperation, highlighting the potential for a peaceful coexistence. As the world watches, the looming shadow in the east serves as a reminder of the delicate balance between conflict and cooperation. The future of Vietnam and China, and indeed the entire region, hangs in the balance, shaped by the actions and decisions of today. The seeds of this potential conflict were sown centuries ago. The roots of the rivalry between Vietnam and China can be traced back to ancient times, where the two civilizations often found themselves at odds. The early interactions were marked by both cultural exchanges and military confrontations, setting the stage for a complex relationship that would evolve over the centuries. Vietnam and China share a long and often tumultuous history. This history is rich with stories of both cooperation and conflict, as the two nations navigated their positions in the region. The geographical proximity and the cultural intersections made their relationship inevitable, yet fraught with tension. Vietnam, for over 1,000 years, resisted Chinese domination, fiercely protecting its independence and cultural identity. The Vietnamese people have a deep-seated pride in their heritage and a strong sense of national identity, which has been shaped by their long struggle against foreign domination. This resistance is celebrated in numerous festivals and cultural traditions that continue to this day. This historical memory of resistance against a more powerful neighbor continues to shape Vietnam's worldview and foreign policy. The legacy of past conflicts influences how Vietnam interacts with other nations, particularly China. The Vietnamese government remains vigilant, always aware of the historical context that frames their diplomatic and political strategies. Fast forward to the 20th century and the scars of conflict remain. The memories of past wars are etched into the landscape and the collective consciousness of the Vietnamese people. War memorials and historical sites serve as poignant reminders of the sacrifices made and the resilience of the nation. The Sino-Vietnamese War of 1979, though brief, left a bitter legacy. This conflict, which lasted less than a month, had profound implications for both countries. It was a stark reminder of the volatility that can arise from historical grievances and geopolitical tensions. This border war, sparked by Vietnam's invasion of Cambodia and overthrow of the Khmer Rouge regime, which was backed by China, demonstrated the very real potential for violence between the two countries. The war highlighted the fragile nature of peace in the region and the ease with which old animosities could flare up into open conflict. Today, while economic ties have flourished, the historical baggage of these past conflicts casts a long shadow. The economic relationship between Vietnam and China is complex, characterized by both cooperation and competition. Trade agreements and economic partnerships have brought the two nations closer, yet the underlying tensions remain. The memory of past struggles fuels Vietnamese apprehension towards their powerful neighbor, particularly as China grows more assertive in its territorial claims. The South China Sea disputes and other territorial issues continue to be flashpoints in the relationship. Vietnam's military readiness and public protests against Chinese actions reflect the ongoing wariness and the desire to protect their sovereignty. The importance of history in shaping national identity cannot be overstated. In Vietnam, historical reenactments, cultural preservation efforts, and educational programs ensure that the younger generations understand the significance of their past. This collective memory serves as a foundation for national unity and resilience. Despite the weight of history, Vietnam continues to look forward. The country is rapidly modernizing, with bustling cities and technological advancements that promise a bright future. Yet the lessons of the past remain ever present, guiding the nation as it navigates the complexities of the present and the uncertainties of the future. Why is the South China Sea so important? This seemingly tranquil body of water holds immense strategic and economic value. For Vietnam, the South China Sea is a lifeline. It provides crucial shipping lanes for its export-oriented economy, connecting the nation to global markets. Furthermore, beneath the waves lies a wealth of natural resources. The South China Sea is believed to hold vast reserves of oil and natural gas, resources that are vital for Vietnam's continued economic growth and energy security. Control over these resources translates into economic and political leverage, making the stakes in this maritime dispute incredibly high. China's claims to the South China Sea, often demarcated by the ambiguous 9-dash line, directly challenge Vietnam's own claims. This disagreement over maritime boundaries is not just about abstract lines on a map. It's about access to vital resources, control over strategic trade routes, and ultimately, national security. Vietnam is not alone in its concerns about China's growing assertiveness in the region. Over the past decade, China's actions in the South China Sea have raised alarms not just in Vietnam, but across Southeast Asia. The region has witnessed an increase in China's military presence, including the construction of artificial islands and the deployment of military assets. These actions have been perceived as a direct challenge to the sovereignty and territorial integrity of neighboring countries. The Philippines, another nation with overlapping claims in the South China Sea, shares Vietnam's anxieties. The waters of the South China Sea are not just strategically important, but also rich in resources, making them a critical area of interest for both nations. The Philippines has had its own share of confrontations with China, including standoffs at sea and legal battles over maritime boundaries. These shared experiences have brought Vietnam and the Philippines closer together as they navigate the complexities of regional geopolitics. This shared concern has fostered a strategic partnership between the two Southeast Asian nations. Their collaboration is not just limited to diplomatic channels, but extends to various sectors, including defense, trade, and cultural exchanges. By working together, Vietnam and the Philippines aim to present a united front, enhancing their bargaining power in international forums and negotiations. Both Vietnam and the Philippines are acutely aware of the dangers of facing China alone. The sheer size and military capabilities of China make it a formidable adversary. By forming alliances and partnerships, they hope to create a balance of power that can deter unilateral actions by China. This strategic thinking is evident in their joint military planning and coordinated responses to incidents in the South China Sea. They recognize the need for collective action to counterbalance China's growing military might and assertive actions. Joint military exercises are a key component of this strategy, allowing both nations to enhance their interoperability and readiness. These exercises are not just symbolic. They are practical measures to ensure that their forces can operate seamlessly together in times of crisis. This partnership extends beyond mere rhetoric. They engage in joint military exercises, share intelligence, and coordinate their diplomatic efforts to push back against China's expansive claims. Intelligence sharing is particularly crucial, as it allows both nations to stay informed about potential threats and to respond swiftly. Diplomatic coordination ensures that their voices are heard in international platforms, reinforcing their stance on the South China Sea issue. This burgeoning alliance is a testament to the shifting power dynamics in the region, as smaller nations, wary of China's growing influence, seek strength in numbers. The South China Sea dispute is not just a regional issue, but a global one, with implications for international trade and security. By banding together, Vietnam and the Philippines are sending a clear message that they will not be easily intimidated. It remains to be seen how far this partnership will develop, but one thing is clear. Vietnam and the Philippines are increasingly finding common cause in their shared concerns about China's actions. As they continue to strengthen their ties, the international community will be watching closely, recognizing that the future of the South China Sea will be shaped by the actions and alliances of these key players. Don't miss out on future explorations and discoveries. Hit subscribe and ring the bell to stay updated with our new content. Your journey of wonder continues with every video. Stay connected and engaged on social media. Continue the conversation, follow us. Thank you for being a part of the Have You Ever Wondered community. Keep wondering, keep discovering. Until next time.